Hello, this is Megan Opperman, and my proposed dissertation is titled Nonbinary Gender Worldmaking Through the Network Counterpublic of Tumblr. My study emerges from new literacy studies, specifically James Paul G. and Deborah Brandt, who have influenced numerous scholars. One in particular, Eric Darnell Pritchard, coined the term literacy normativity, which I will define in a few slides. Also, Michael Werner, who through his discussion of publics and counterpublics, discussed world-making projects, and Berlant and Warner then discussed queer world-making, which K.J. Rawson extended to transgender world-making, specifically on digital spaces. So my study seeks to examine non-binary gender literacies and world-making. My study is guided by two research questions. First, what literacies have gender non-binary individuals enacted as they explore their non-normative identities on Tumblr? And two, what worlds have gender non-binary individuals created on Tumblr, and what can they tell us about how non-binary gender literacies function in the networked counterpublic of Tumblr? So first, to define some terms. When I refer to non-binary gender, I am meaning any gender that cannot be defined as exclusively male or exclusively female. So this could be neither male nor female, both male and female, or somewhere in between. Literacy normativity, Eric Darnell Pritchard coined this term for the way dominant literacy practices, quote, set up an ideal to which people are expected to perform or at least aspire to in order to be considered normal. Michael Warner coined the terms public and counterpublic. A public, he claims, has 7 criteria. First is that it is self-organized. Second is a relation among strangers. It's both personal and impersonal. It's constituted by attention, meaning that a person becomes a member of a public simply by reading a text or beginning to listen to a text be read aloud. And they can come and go. If they cease to read that text in the middle, then they have left that public. And other people will join that public at various moments throughout time. So it is a social space created by the circulation of this text. And it acts historically according to the temporality of the circulation, meaning that it can come and go and it may not circulate forever. And finally, 7th criteria is a poetic world making, which I will discuss more in a moment. A counterpublic is the same as a public. However, it has an additional oppositional relationship to a public, and members are socially marked by their participation. Warner uses the queer counterpublic, which has an oppositional relationship to the heteronormative public, and in which members are socially marked through their participation. Warner also discusses world making, that 7th criteria for a public. He asserts that all discourse or performance addressed to a public must characterize the world in which it attempts to circulate, projecting for that world a concrete and livable shape and attempting to realize that world through address. So I've created this infographic to illustrate this concept a little bit further and draw it into my population of non-binary individuals on Tumblr. So in the first image I have there in the left corner, we have an individual standing there in the middle surrounded by either male or female bodies. So they see a very binary picture of the world. But this individual in the second image there is imagining that there exists a world where gender is not male, just male or female. There's something else. And so they take to their computer. And that third image there, they are either reading and circulating or creating a text on social media, specifically Tumblr. That text would then be hashtagged to help others search and find that content. The hashtag that has emerged from non-binary individuals on Tumblr is hashtag non-binary. So that fourth image there on the bottom left corner, we have this text, and in the middle there, that's all the different icons of what you can do to interact with this text. You can share it, you can reblog it, you can like it. And so all these individuals, these non-binary identified individuals, maybe they're allies as well, other people who stumbled across this content, are now reading and circulating, therefore becoming a public for this text, which in the bottom right-hand corner, that final image, it demonstrates that yes, there does exist a world in which gender is not exclusively a male-female binary. So the methods for my study, I will be using Tumblr, which I have an image of Tumblr there on the right. And as you see, you can log in or create a login there in the middle. But if you look up to the top left, you also can search without having to log in. And you would then be searching public posts. So I am in that search bar typing in hashtag non-binary and generating search results. Now, I am not creating a login for a reason that I'm calling the public-private non-binary. For that reason, I am searching only public posts with no login credentials, and I am seeking crowdsourced blogs, meaning that it is not single author, but instead the author or authors of the blog are generating content through crowdsourcing. Either people submit or ask questions or use a specific hashtag to, in addition to hashtag non-binary, to signal that they want it to be submitted to the page. Now I'm doing this because in my time working with LGBTQ youth at a youth center a few years back, I was introduced to non-binary youth and their participation on Tumblr by children as young as 12 or 13, the youngest age allowed at our youth center, though I learned through them that many individuals, even younger, as long as they have an internet connection and a device in which to search for Tumblr, are creating accounts, despite Tumblr's requirement that members be at least 13. So for that reason, many of my participants are under 18, are lying about their age, to use Tumblr. And more importantly, many of them are not out in other spaces beyond online. So reaching out to obtain informed consent would put them at risk of being outed to their parents, their other family members, their friends, their communities. So in order to approach this data without direct quoting, without sharing usernames, identities, or screenshots or images, I'm searching instead for emerging themes, and those emerging themes will be world-making projects. Currently, I have 3 preliminary worlds I'm looking at. A world in which their identity exists. So, like in the beginning of my infographic, they're standing in a gender binary world, and they go to Tumblr to confirm that their identity actually does exist somewhere. Second, I've noticed that there's quite a bit of humor used on Tumblr, and mostly satire. And so I've seen a world where gender is absurd. So not only does their identity exist, but really the whole concept of gender is kind of absurd in the first place. And finally, a world where non-binary individuals are the experts and archivists. So non-binary individuals are creating this content, and they are not professionals. They're not doctors or program coordinators or educators or scholars. They're individuals who identify as non-binary and have created this space where individuals can ask questions and seek advice, where they can post their comments and concerns, and where they can share resources, among many other things. So unlike in other areas of their life in which their identity is prescribed to them, beginning with their doctor when they're born, and their parents, their family and friends, society in general, they are the experts, and they decide what is and isn't archived in their space. Thank you.